something was rebelling in me saying, open your eyes. This is enough with your eyes closed. And I was like, whoa. And for a moment, I almost gave in. Hey, everybody. Namaste. I'm Don. Welcome to Smart Yoga. I wanted to talk about one of the most impactful things that you can do in your yoga practice. And it's to close your eyes. And to close your eyes as much as you can. So, and I've talked about this on other videos, but not as sort of on point as I am, because this is the purpose of this video. Closing your eyes brings your awareness inward. And when I started to do this in my practice, I started to notice my mind was more still. I felt calmer. And I was no longer taking all of my cues from the outside world, if you will, from whoever was in the classroom or what was outside the window. It's approximated that human beings get about 80 to 90% of our information from what we see. And then there's hearing, taste, touch, smell. And so that informs us from the five senses. When we take away our primary source of information, our mind is still active. Our brain can still be active, or we can make it, a lot calmer and not be thinking once we learn that. But the most impactful way of doing that I've discovered is to keep my eyes closed as much as I can during practice. When in the beginning, when you're in your centering posture and you're seated and you release the tension in your face and your shoulders, keeping your eyes closed. And then even over time, you'll develop a sense of where you are on your mat just by feeling. And eventually, and this is my goal, and I've not accomplished it yet, but is to take an entire class with my eyes closed, including the balancing postures. The goal is to develop such a degree of self-awareness that I know when I'm in balance or not, for instance, not because I'm looking in a mirror or because I have an external frame of reference, a drishti as we call it, a spot on the wall or on the floor or some stationary object, but because within me I have that sense of awareness. So I encourage you not to put yourself in danger, because if you don't have the greatest balance, let's say, or you're not sure what you should look like in Warrior 1, 2, or Trikonasana, or Warrior 3, which we call Superman pose sometimes, these balancing postures, there's a greater risk of falling. That's why they're balancing postures as opposed to seated postures, for instance. But keeping your eyes closed goes a long way in calming yourself, seeing things. There's a river of information, if you will, emotions, thoughts, however we categorize or depict or describe what goes on within us. But if we just sit back and, in a sense, let them happen and see them, that's where we can set our intentions to overcoming or filling in gaps that might exist. Maybe we're too passive and we want to be more assertive. Maybe we're overly critical of ourselves. But by closing your eyes, you can see these things, and then you can begin to work on becoming what we call your better self, what's known as just becoming your better self. And closing your eyes is a big key to doing that. And I'll share this with you that happened during one of the teacher trainings that I did. My teacher, Ranjita, who I've mentioned, and I hope you'll get to meet her on some of my videos too, because she's just a spectacular, special human being. Anybody that's met her pretty much has that same experience. You're just like, wow, something's different. And but in the teacher training, I guess there are, I don't know, 12 of us in this whichever one it was. That's my recollection. She said, get in a comfortable seated position, or you could even be laying, basically in Shavasana on your mat. You could have a bolster under you. You could have a blanket over you, whatever you want to do, get comfortable. Then close your eyes. And Ranjita said, I'm going to leave the room and I'll come back whenever I come back. And I don't want you to have moved essentially or opened your eyes while I'm gone. So, fine. Now, we were all fairly accomplished yogis and yoginis, experienced teachers at the time and so forth. And I don't know, I'm perfectly comfortable seated. And I was in my seated position, eyes closed. And I want to say 5 or 6 minutes in, I don't know how long it was, all of a sudden this thought came up that said, enough. And it was like, give me information, entertainment. And it was basically something was rebelling in me saying, open your eyes. This is enough with your eyes closed. And I was like, whoa. And for a moment, I almost gave in. But I'm like, I'm not going to disrupt the moment. What is going on here, though? And it was so aggressive. And in that moment, I visualized sort of getting over a wall, like you'll see like in boot camp on TV when they show pictures, or there are movies of guys and women in boot camp, and they've got to get up over this wall. And that was the image that popped into my head. And it probably took 5 seconds, but in my mind, I got over this wall, and then I was perfectly calm. And I've used that so often in my life where somebody's really upsetting me, or something is really difficult, or I'm upsetting myself and I'm getting this flood of negative thoughts. And I've relied on that getting over the wall metaphor, and that mind picture comes to mind that has helped me in the future. So even when it's not all roses, as they say, when your eyes are closed and you're quiet in contemplation on your mat or in your home, it's okay to see these thoughts and try to get through them, experience them for what they are, because you might be able to work with them or benefit from them later. Only you can decide, how you're going to work with that. But that is one of the greatest benefits, the greatest gifts I've received, is being comfortable with my eyes closed, and me, in a sense, being the center, not in a narcissistic way, but of me being able to guide my thoughts and emotions and my physical, which is the physical part of the postures, from within, versus having a constant flood of external information to guide me through it. So there's a bit of yogic theory, but it's a very practical part of how you could take something you may not have done before or understood, or maybe understood a little bit, and benefit from it in every part of your life, on and off the mat. And that also speaks to a level of consistency that you will enjoy. When regular life begins to inform you on your mat, that's just a whole new level, a whole new way of being, where, wow, your whole life basically becomes one fluid, one constant, and it's very enjoyable. So it's a preferred way for me, anyhow. So I hope that helps you. Leave some comments. Would love to hear your thoughts on this, and I know many of you have these thoughts. So thank you for making it this far. I honor you. Namaste.